The next morning, the house woke up differently. No rush of school preparations for Ollie. No loud excuses. Just silence and tension. Sarah was already awake. She stood in the kitchen preparing tea. Not because she was asked, but because she wanted to observe the home she had once grown up in. Ollie came out of his room late, phone in hand. "Why are you making tea?" he asked lazily. Sarah looked at him calmly. "Because someone needs to start the day properly." Ollie smirked. "Properly? You sound like a teacher." Sarah didn't react. She simply placed a cup on the table. "Sit." Ollie raised an eyebrow. "I don't take orders." Ehsan and Sana watched quietly from the side. They were unsure whether to intervene. Sarah remained composed. "I'm not ordering you," she said softly. "I'm trying to help you." Ollie sat down reluctantly. But his attitude didn't change. Throughout breakfast, he kept checking his phone, ignoring everyone. Sarah noticed everything. After a long silence, she spoke again. "You used to be good at studies when you were younger." Ollie laughed. "Who told you that? I don't need studies. I'll do whatever I want." Sarah nodded slowly. "That's the problem." Ollie frowned. "What problem?" Sarah leaned slightly forward. "You were never taught discipline. Only comfort." The room went quiet. Ollie's expression hardened. "Don't lecture me." Sarah's voice stayed calm. "I'm not lecturing you. I'm telling you what life will teach you later, the hard way." That sentence lingered. But Ollie stood up. "I don't care." And he walked away. Sana siget deeply. He never listens to anyone. Ehsan looked helpless. He has become impossible. Sarah, however, didn't lose hope. Because she understood something they didn't. Change doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in resistance. Days passed. Sarah stayed at home, observing Ollie's habits. Late nights. Irregular sleep. Constant phone use. No responsible. One evening, she took a different approach. She placed a notebook on the table. "From tomorrow," she said, "you will study 1 hour with me." Ollie laughed. "You? Teach me." "Yes," she replied simply. "I don't need you," he said. Sarah looked at him directly. "I didn't ask if you need me." Silence. This time, even Ollie didn't respond immediately. But he refused. The next day, he didn't show up. Sarah didn't react emotionally. She simply noted it. Day 1, refusal. Day 2, absence. Day 3, attitude unchanged. But on the 4th day, something unexpected happened. Ollie came and sat down. Not because he agreed, but because he was bored. Sarah didn't celebrate. She just opened the book. "Let's start." Ollie leaned back. "Make it quick." Sarah began slowly. Not rushing. Not forcing. Just teaching. At first, Ollie didn't care. But something strange started happening. Sarah wasn't like teachers who shouted. She was patient, clear, unemotional, and slowly, Ollie began to understand things he had ignored for years. Not because he wanted to, but because, for the first time, someone refused to give up on him. Meanwhile, Ehsan and Sana watched this silently. Ehsan finally spoke one night. "She is doing what we failed to do." Sana nodded with tears in her eyes. "I ignored her, and she is still fixing what we broke." But Sarah didn't see it as revenge or responsibility. She saw it as understanding, because she knew both sides now. The ignored child and the spoiled child. And both needed healing. But healing is never fast. It is slow, painful, and often unappreciated. Yet Sarah continued anyway. Because this time, she was not the forgotten girl anymore. She was the strength the house never had. Weeks passed, but progress was slow. Ollie still resisted most days. Some days he attended the study sessions with Sarah. Other days, he refused completely and locked himself in his room. But something had started to shift, very slightly. He was listening more than before, arguing less than before, even if he didn't admit it. Sarah noticed everything, but she didn't force change. She understood that pressure would push him away. So she stayed consistent, calm, present. One evening, everything changed. Ali came home late, angry. He threw his bag on the sofa. "I hate everything," he shouted. Sana rushed from the kitchen. "What happened?" Ali didn't answer. He kicked the chair. "I don't want to study. I don't want anything." Ihsan stood up, frustrated. "This behavior is unacceptable." Ali shouted back. "You never cared anyway." Silence fell in the room. That sentence hit harder than expected, because it was partly true. Sarah stood near the wall, watching quietly. Ali's breathing was heavy. His hands were shaking slightly. For the first time, his anger didn't look powerful. It looked lost. Sarah stepped forward slowly. "Sit down," she said gently. Ali turned. "Don't start again." Sarah didn't raise her voice. "I said sit." Something in her tone was different. Not fear. Not authority. But clarity. Ali hesitated, then slowly sat down. The room remained silent. Sarah sat across from him. "What happened today?" she asked calmly. Ali looked away. After a long pause, he spoke in a lower voice. "I failed again." Sana's expression changed. Ihsan looked down. Sarah stayed quiet. Ali continued, frustration turning into pain. "They said I'm useless, that I don't try, that I'm wasting time." His voice cracked slightly. "And maybe they're right." Silence filled the room. For the first time, the arrogant boy wasn't arrogant anymore. He was breaking. Sarah's voice softened. "You are not useless." Ali scoffed. "You don't understand." Sarah nodded. "I understand more than you think." He looked at her, confused. Sarah continued. "You were given everything without direction. And I was given nothing, but learned direction anyway." Ali looked down. "I don't know how to fix it," he whispered. That moment changed everything. Not instantly, but deeply. Because real change doesn't start with confidence. It starts with collapse. Sarah leaned slightly forward. "You don't need to fix everything today." A pause. "You just need to stop running." Ali didn't respond. But he didn't leave either. And that was enough for now. That night, Sarah stood outside in the courtyard. The wind was calm. But her thoughts were heavy. She had come back, thinking she would only guide him. But now she realized something deeper. Healing others also reopens your own wounds. Still, she didn't regret it. Because, for the first time in her life, she wasn't trying to be seen. She was trying to make someone else feel seen. And that was a different kind of strength. Inside the house, Ali sat alone in his room. For the first time in years, he didn't pick up his phone immediately. He just sat there, thinking, breaking, slowly changing. And sometimes, that is where the real beginning starts. The house was quiet in a way it had never been before. Not the silence of comfort, but the silence of reflection. Months had passed since Sarah returned. Slowly, things had begun to shift. Not dramatically, but steadily, like a river changing its path over time. Ali was different now. Not perfect. Not suddenly transformed. But aware. He attended classes again. He apologized when he was wrong. And for the first time, he started asking questions instead of rejecting everything. It wasn't easy for him. Some days were still heavy. But he no longer ran from responsibility. One evening, Sarah was sitting in the living room, reading. Ali came and stood near the door. He didn't speak immediately. That was new too. After a moment, he said quietly, "Can I sit?" Sarah looked up and nodded. "Of course." He sat down slowly. Silence followed. Then, in a low voice, he said, I don't think I ever understood anything before. Sarah closed her book. She didn't interrupt. Ollie continued. I thought being loved meant getting everything, not being told no. He laughed slightly, but it wasn't joyful. It ruined me, didn't it? Sarah looked at him calmly. No, she said softly. It confused you. That's different. Ollie looked at her. For the first time, there was no arrogance in his eyes. Oh, Ollie lowered his head. I'm sorry, he whispered. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just real. For the first time in the story, apology meant understanding, not escape. Sarah nodded once. I know. From the hallway, Ihsan and Sanaa watched silently. Tears welled in Sanaa's eyes. I failed both of them in different ways, she whispered. Ihsan didn't argue this time. He simply said, but she didn't fail us, even when we failed her. Sarah stood up slowly. She walked toward her parents. There was no anger left in her. Only closure. I don't need the past to be perfect, she said. A pause. I just needed it to be understood. Ihsan lowered his head. Sanaa stepped forward and finally hugged her daughter. This time, Sarah didn't pull away. Not because she needed it, but because she had finally healed enough to accept it. Ollie stood quietly behind them, watching, learning, becoming. Outside, the evening sky turned soft orange. Life was still imperfect, but it was no longer broken. Sarah had not returned to change her past. She returned to change what the past had created. And in doing so, she didn't just find success. She found peace. Because sometimes the strongest people are not the ones who escape their pain, but the ones who come back and transform it into understanding. And in that house, after years of silence, struggle, and regret, love finally arrived, not as perfection, but as healing.